Hello everyone, as you can probably see by that sign, I'm in the Evercreech Forest Reserve and I'm going to be hiking to Evercreech Falls, which is actually on a tributary creek to the Evercreech Rivulet, which is the creek that I'm crossing over now. What we're also going to be doing though, or what I'm also going to be doing though, is heading upstream once I get to Evercreech Falls along the Evercreech Rivulet itself, because it's said that there's meant to be a waterfall on the main rivulet about 700 metres upstream. I mean, there's definitely a waterfall there. I can just look at the topo maps and see there's one, but got no idea what it looks like or anything. It's quite possible that's actually the real Evercreech Falls, because naming a waterfall in a little side creek that's not all that significant after the main creek itself, I'm not sure about. Anyway, we'll soon see. It could be bloody 4 metre drop for all I know. The walk's going to take 40 minutes as a loop to Evercreech Falls. I remember when I did it last time that was pretty much about right, but that was years ago. Anyway, I'll see you a bit further along. I should also mention that while I'm hiking to the waterfalls, the Evercreech Forest Reserve is much more famous for its big trees, and there's like a little short boardwalk that leads to the base of 4 80-metre high trees, just like across the road basically from the falls walk. However, that is currently closed. That's a bit strange, looks like another track over there. It's currently closed because of tree limb, the chances of tree limbs falling or something, which sounds like a load of crap to me, to be honest, because tree limbs can always fall. But anyway, something to be aware of if you're going to be hiking this track anytime soon. I don't think it gets a lot of maintenance, and there's several big fallen trees that I've had to get around. I mean, they're not all that difficult to get around in terms of like actual difficulty, but it just can be a bit hard to pick up the track once you get around them, so just got to be careful of that. Generally it's a pretty clear route though, there's a lot of marker posts and the actual route's very obvious. Okay, so I've arrived at a junction. I'll go back on that track when I go back later, but the falls are this way, so let's go check them out. So I'm currently right beside the rivulet. I'll come back to this point and start making my way upstream in a minute, but for now, just duck straight through here. And here is the Evercreech Falls. It's not super tall or super large, but it's a really serene spot. Probably an 8 to 10 metre drop in total. As you can see, I'm currently walking through the rivulet itself, which this has not always been possible because often it's just like really kind of got pools in there, or it's very slippery and wide or whatever it is. But right now I can get through it easily enough. Might cross over here, I think. But yeah, it's not been horrendous going. It's been reasonably thick scrub and quite muddy. A lot of fallen trees and the like, but I've done worse. Like, it's definitely doable. This has got to be one of the more pretty off-track hikes I've done. The rainforest here is just so beautiful, and it makes the scrub bashing actually quite enjoyable, to be honest, when you're in this sort of setting. In terms of difficulty, it's been pretty much the same since I last spoke to you. It's nowhere near on par with somewhere like Svengali Falls, but yeah, you've got to be a pretty decent bushwalker, and you wouldn't want to attempt this when the creek is high, just because a lot of the time you have to walk right through it, kind of, because at times the walls are really steep or crumbly or whatever. So doing this in high flow would be difficult and probably dangerous. Well, I've made it to what I'm unimaginatively naming Evercreech Rivulet Falls, and it's bloody spectacular. So there's two main sections to it. The upper section I'll try and get closer to it. I reckon I can scramble up to the bottom of it. But in total it's at least a 20-metre drop, because it's got that section and then it keeps cascading down here into a pretty nice looking pool. So I'm going to take a few photos from down here because it's really a great spot, and then I'll try and make it up to the top. It's just, the moss is extraordinary. Like, I don't think I've seen a place look this green before, and it's pretty unusual for the East Coast as well, which tends to be drier. Definitely, I'm very surprised this waterfall doesn't have an official name, because it certainly warrants one. Okay, so I've made it to the main section of Evercreech Rivulet Falls. It's actually even bigger than I thought from down below. This is probably 20 metres on its own, this part. And you can only imagine what it would look like in full flow. But cover that whole cliff face, that'd just be incredible. But I don't reckon you can get to here if it was flowing that high. Nonetheless, it's a spectacular sight today. So you can look down there, the lower tiers through there. I scrambled around this side of the creek. I don't think you could on that side, it's too steep. It was quite dicey getting up here. There were a lot of big boulders to scramble through and past, but it wasn't, you know, anything too bad. It was definitely doable. And then you can look into the valley down there. I've got a feeling that the actual Evercreech Falls is in fact this waterfall, and the other waterfall further down that the track ends at is just a mistake, because I can't imagine anyone would hike up this creek, see both waterfalls and decide the other Evercreech Falls was the one worth naming, because this is miles bigger. Righto, so I'm back at the main track now. I came from this way on the way in. I've just come from that way, from Evercreech Falls. So now I'm going to try going the other direction. Now this route, from what I remember, is a bit more difficult, just in terms of that you have to cross over the creek via a wire crossing. And that's just a little ways down from here, so I'll see you there. I don't think it's too bad, but it might be a little bit slippery. Well, it's definitely changed a bit since I was last here. As you can see, a log has blown downstream. So it makes it a little bit challenging, just because it'll be a slippery log to cross. It used to be that you just rock hop and hold this wire. But I mean, I've already crossed the creek a whole bunch of times so far today, so I'm not going to have any problems. But potentially, if you're not feeling like doing this, and you go to Evercreech Falls, just come back the way you came, I reckon. Because it's a bit slippery. Anyway, it's probably about 20 minutes from here to the car park, and hopefully there's some nice stuff to see on the way, but I'll see you when I get a bit closer to the end of the walk. I've got to say, this side of the track is substantially easier than the other side. Not that that was difficult, but there was a bit of up and down to it. This is following along what looks to be an old four-wheel drive track, actually. Entering some much drier kind of forest to what we were travelling through before. Well, I've actually just exited the track I was on. You can see where the markers are there. And if we weren't on a road before, we certainly are now. I don't think I'm too far off the end of the walk now, so I'll probably wrap up the video here. Look, even just going to Evercreech Falls, even though it's not that impressive a waterfall, it's definitely a very worthwhile walk. If you're up for it, going to Evercreech Rivulet Falls is definitely worthwhile. It's an incredibly impressive waterfall. You probably want to give yourself about 3 hours return to hike to Evercreech Rivulet Falls, and at a leisurely pace, probably an hour return to Evercreech Falls. Anyway, that's it from me, I reckon. Thanks for watching, guys. I will see you next time.